welcoming Dr. Melanie Schwartz, psychologist at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. Dr. Schwartz, thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. How are you doing? How's your team, your family?
We're doing good over here. I mean, taking it day by day. That's what we can do.
So right now we're seeing a lot of industries reopen. We're seeing society start to kind of reemerge, and it can be kind of scary for some people that may not want to come back out to go to work, or may not want to go out to the parks and go out to stores and so on. What do you suggest that maybe they can do to help overcome some of those fears as they reemerge from their homes and try to come back to some semblance of normalcy?
Well, I think there's a few things that can happen. I think, number one, you have to follow what the experts are telling you. Wear your mask, keep your distance, wash your hands. That's what makes you feel like you have some control in all of this. And those are the things that will keep you safe. And I think don't just kind of jump out there. Maybe take small little steps. Maybe it's, if you haven't gone even to a grocery store, maybe it's stepping into a grocery store. Maybe it's, just going to your office for an hour or two, just to kind of feel it out, see your comfort level, see what's going on. Those of us who have been quarantined and just have not left the house at all, it can be very intimidating if you haven't gone out there to see what's going on. So my advice would be just take baby steps out there.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. You got to go step by step, do little things at a time. I've been going pretty much through this entire process from my home and into the office, and occasionally just to the stores. But even initially, it was tough. And on the weekends, I would have to go out and run errands and go grocery shopping and that kind of thing. And it's tough psychologically to get yourself to the point where you're comfortable making those baby steps. And then you got to just kind of find a time that's comfortable for you. And does that vary person to person? Is there a set kind of guideline with that?
I think it depends on your level of anxiety about it. Obviously, some people are more at the extreme ends of this and have a lot more anxiety and fear of germs and things like that. Those people, you have to take it very, very slow, whereas some people are much more comfortable going to the stores right now, or going to their office, or going to get gas, or going for walks. So it really just depends on your level of anxiety about this. But just do what you're comfortable with. Don't push yourself too much, because that's not good for you. Just kind of prove to yourself, see that there is safety practices out there, and that you're not walking out into a danger zone. Okay, that people are doing what they need to do to stay safe.
And we have a lot of variations that are coming into our lives too right now. With new guidelines. We got to wear a mask. We got to keep that social distance. And I found it, at least initially in this, and even to some extent now with the mask requirements out in public. I'm not wearing one in the studio right now. It's just me in here today. But even just wearing the mask normally when you get out of your car and you're going into the grocery store, when you're in the office but not in the studio, it's tough to break out of your usual routine and your usual habits. Why are these kind of simple things like wearing a mask, keeping 6-foot distance, why can those be so tough to become norms in somebody's routine?
Well, people don't like change. So that's one reason. There's a variety of reasons. I mean, I was out on Sunday driving to a store, and I saw a lot of people not following the social distance measures, which was interesting to me to watch. And it was interesting to see, and figure out the reasons why that's happening. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, as far as teenagers go, which I have seen over the weeks, a lot of teenagers who have not necessarily been making changes or following social distance practices. Their reason is teenagers think that they're invincible to some degree, that nothing's going to happen to them. So it's hard for them to make changes when they think that they're going to be fine, that there's no issues. As far as adults, they don't want to let go of what we're seeing on TV too. Some of them don't want to let go of their freedoms. Some want to defy kind of the guidance to feel like they have control in their lives still. Some people don't think that the virus is that dangerous because they haven't had any personal connection with it. So if it's not around them, it can't hurt them. there's a variety of reasons why this happens. And I think it's different for everybody. And there's also the denial piece that's been here since the beginning. And that's, kind of fueled by fear. But people feel that, it's not happening. People are over exaggerating, and that it's not really a big deal. So these are a lot of the thought processes that go on in people that are preventing them from making the choices that are going to keep them and everybody else safe.
And there's differences between everyone. Everyone has a different motivation for why they don't feel they need to participate or don't have a desire to, and just don't bring that into their routine. So let's go kind of step by step with that. You mentioned teenagers. You mentioned younger people that tend to think that they're invincible. How do you break through that? We talked a lot with education about educating your kids and your family with Kurt Lawson earlier on, and with Greg Flynn yesterday. What are some of those strategies that parents can have and families can have to kind of break through that hard outer surface with these teenagers?
That one is pretty tough. I work with a lot of teenagers, and they do have this belief that they're invincible, and they're missing their friends, and so they're kind of they don't care anymore. So they're willing to do whatever it takes to be around their friends, and just not following the guidance, the guidelines that are out there. Really, like you just said, like Kurt has said, education is key. If they aren't watching TV, I would encourage them to watch TV to some degree to see what's really going on in the world. Because if they've been at home this whole time and they've been sheltered, or their parents have kept them from watching what's going on, let them get a glimpse of what's going on in the world. Let them see the reality of what's going on, because I don't necessarily think they always understand how dangerous this really is for them.
We're speaking with Dr. Melanie Schwartz, psychologist at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness on the Megacast, Civic Center TV, and BAMA, Birmingham Municipal Access Television, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 The Biff, WBFH, out of the Bloomfield Hills School District, and WAHS 89.5 Avondale Community Radio. So, Dr. Schwartz, on the other end of the spectrum here, you have older adults, you have young adults, you have just adults of all ages that may not want to comply as well. What are some strategies for loved ones, for friends, for colleagues to break through with them potentially?
I think it's hard because we don't have control over other people. So also what Kurt was saying is model your own behaviors, your own safe practices. And that sometimes encourages other people to do the same. Lecturing someone isn't going to help. Educating will. So education, modeling, setting guidelines for your office. I know at our office we have, which has been running for certain therapists this whole time, we are just educating them on how to maintain safety. We have signs up all over the office, on the front door. We've adjusted procedures, and we just keep everyone up to date as the guidelines change and what's going to keep everyone safe. And so I think it's just a matter of educating and modeling.
Dr. Melanie Schwartz, psychologist at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness. Locally, we just had saw an article today from Local 4 News, WDIV TV, that Oakland County has formed a task force to reduce social isolation amongst senior citizens. It includes teaching them interaction with technology, more access to mental health care as well. What are some things that maybe you're seeing with your senior patients, or that your colleagues are seeing with their senior patients, that may be coming up as a result of this current crisis that we're in?
Well, both personally and professionally, my parents are elderly. They're just very isolated. They're definitely starting to feel depressed, lonely, especially people who live by themselves. It's probably the most difficult on them, because they're not great at technology. They don't know how to socialize with people. They just want to be with people in person. And so it's been very difficult for them. I've also seen some anxiety as well. I'm encouraging them to reach out to their family members, let their family members teach them how to use technology if they have that ability. I know a lot of people have done a lot of driveway interactions, backyard interactions while social distancing, because that's all you can really do right now. But I'm encouraging that as this goes on, and while it is, the elderly, obviously that is one of the most dangerous populations, they're going to need they're going to need interactions and socialization while this is going on, because this is going to go on for a very long time with them. And so we're going to have to figure out ways to keep them engaged.
What are some of those ways that we can keep them engaged while maintaining our social distance, while keep ensuring that this vulnerable population is staying safe as well?
I think that, it's amazing to me. I've actually, with my family members to some degree, we have really educated them on how to do FaceTime calls, or how to do a Zoom call, or how to do even a Facebook group. We've taught them. We're teaching them because we have to teach them how to use technology, since that's really the safest way for them to engage with others right now, so that they can do it with each other, with their friends, with their families. I know a lot of people are doing errands for the elderly right now, myself included. I'm doing all of the shopping for my parents. So, when I'm dropping off groceries and things like that, I'll stand on the driveway and talk to them for a period of time, just to get them to have someone to talk to face from a distance. I also think that encouraging them to reach out to each other just on the phone more than they normally do, because it's that important for them right now. And to just realize that this is just right now. It's not forever. It's not enjoyable for them, but we're going to get past this just like we get through everything else, and just to keep them in a hopeful state.
It isn't forever, and we are going to get through this. It's a long process. It's a tough process for everybody, and we just need to be there for each other. So before I let you go, Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, anything else that we should be aware of that maybe is popping up, different psychological issues or problems that we might be facing in the coming weeks that we can prepare for in some way and get ourselves out in front of?
I think, and I think I said this last time I was on, is be proactive about this. It's going to be very difficult to not come out of this with some form of mental health issue because of the trauma that it is, the trauma, the grief, the emotions that are coming from this experience. So stay on top of it. If you are struggling, talk to someone. There are many ways to do that, whether it's through a crisis line, whether it's through a friend, contacting a mental health practice or facility. Stay on top of it, because in the end, we're all going to have to deal with it, and better to deal with it when you're experiencing it than wait it out, because then it'll be more difficult. So just be more proactive about it and recognize when you're having a hard time dealing with it right now.
That is fantastic advice. Dr. Melanie Schwartz from Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Dr. Melanie Schwartz, psychologist at Viewpoint Psychology and Wellness, joining us on this Wednesday on the Megacast.